I think that they're going to be able to make a strong enough argument that the jury's going to buy that that was you out there. So at this point, we have to make a decision. Are we just going to lean into it and say, yeah, like that's what I do. I drive around at night. I'm a single guy. I get lonely. I get sick of sitting in the house, and I go out and I cruise around. You know, I mean, that's what I do. That's where I do my best thinking. Like for me, it's the shower. I take like 3-hour showers just sitting in there thinking. You know, this guy gets in a car and drives around.
You're giving some insight into the kind of the behind the scenes there, and what makes me curious now after you said that is, do you think they don't actually have stronger cell phone data then?
To me,
than what we know about, right?
I don't. I think it's going to be, it is what it is type situation. They'll be able to triangulate him to whatever, you know, square footage that they're going to be able to do it. Like, I mean, they'll be able to, the tower link that we've already heard about. Like in whatever that distance is, they're not going to be able to pinpoint him to within feet of where he was. They're just not going to be able to.
People have talked about the more precise ways of you know, finding out where people's cell phones were within like meters. I mean, a very precise distance. It doesn't sound like they have that then, right?
No, but like, and that's going to depend on towers and the technology. Like you know,
kind of looked at that before, how spread out and distant, and there really isn't a lot going on out there.
Totally, but you know, my thing is like him being triangulated around the house isn't his biggest issue. His biggest issue is the fact that he turned his phone off at 2:27 a.m.
I agree with that. Yep.
That's going to be extremely hard to explain. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, like to me, the two biggest issues that you're going to have are the fact that he turned his phone off and the fact that they have some kind of sample that presumably is going to be some type of a match to his DNA, which they have now. Like the IgG stuff is not going to matter. His his DNA is irrelevant at this point. I think the defense deserves to get that data so they can look at it, and so they can see how they reached the conclusions they did. You know, they have a right to look at it. So as far as, you know, that goes, I mean, we're just gonna have to wait for it. Like, we're not gonna find that out. I mean, we're gonna find some stuff out before trial because they're gonna litigate it. Like, Ann Taylor's gonna try to keep it out. You know what I mean? So there's going to be pretrial motions. Like, that's what I'm always saying, man. Like, the real war in any trial isn't the trial itself. It's everything that takes place leading up to the trial. That's where you have all the motion work. Like, you can see.
Yeah, we can see it now, dude. It's
see it now. Like this, like these little battles.
This is the first case we've
been full in on. Yeah, dude. It's
this
pretty
is
wild.
like the introduction to the world at large of what my life has been like for the past 20 years. Like so when I'm on Twitter and I'm like, yo, man, you guys need to calm the fuck down. Like, everybody, I'm like, they're just getting started. Like we're about to see like tons and tons of motion work. And like, that's where we're going to find out what some of the evidence is through that motion work. You know, it's not going to be because of leaks or anything like that. It's going to be because they're going to be litigating the shit out of this, because that's where the judge is going to decide what is going to be admissible at trial, what the jury is going to hear. And that's why I'm always on Coffin Ever's ass, who's like, couldn't taint a jury. I'm like,
the Wicked Witch of the West.
220 million like impressions on one of your fucking tweets with a bunch of misinformation, and you're trying this dude in the press. It has an impact, believe me. You know, because like, people always come into every trial, if it's even like moderately high profile, and people have heard of it. We all form decisions, and there's like initial decisions on innocence or guilt. We all do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, the only thing that I'm ever always saying to people is like, human nature, we're all going to say, it seems like he's guilty. But that sheath is the key to me. Like, and like everything that I see on Twitter, and I'm like, people are just kind of disregarding it now because they don't understand the whole discrepancy with the IgG thing. And they're like, they're not going to put the sheath into evidence because they're not. I'm like, no, dude, like, that's irrelevant. Like, the state's argument to that is the IgG doesn't matter. Because now we're using his DNA. We're not using his dad's. We're not introducing his dad's DNA into evidence because we have his. And now what we've done is we've sent the sheath back, and we've sent his sample and his profile along with it. And now they're comparing those two things. The lab is, and we're going to get, that's the report we're going to get. And that's what we're going to introduce at trial. So it's like anything that went on with the IgG stuff is irrelevant as to the trial because the state is not intending on introducing it at all. So I don't know, man. It's but I love that case, and I hate it, but I love it because of how much it's drawn the entire true crime community into like what I do. You know, like it's like
everybody's examining those every time there's a fucking doc drop. Yeah,
dude, like seriously, like
dude, I've enjoyed it from like and becoming friends with you and like even all the legal minds on Twitter, dude. It's made me understand this. Like honestly, if you took the last 6 months of us growing, I would be embarrassed at the beginning compared to where we are now. Like I'm learning every single day, and I'm still an idiot. But dude, it's so beneficial for you to help us out, truly, dude.
But like that has been like one of the main thrusts of my podcast. Is I decided early on. I'm like, look, people that love true crime, but are understanding maybe half of what they're hearing. You know, like if I can get them up to like the 60, 70, 80% of understanding like the terminology and like what certain things are and how they operate in the law, that it's only going to expand their enjoyment of the true crime genre.
It has, dude.
Right. I mean, it makes it way fucking more interesting. Like when you know beyond just what they're telling you on a fucking like a Discovery ID thing. You know what I mean? Because like that is just surface level shit. Like y'all are getting into the weeds like we do as attorneys. Like I call it the golden age of PCAs. I've never fucking heard, like I've been looking at PCAs for 20 years. I never heard anybody aside from lawyers ever talk about it until the last year when the PCA on Delphi dropped. And then right behind that, you had the Idaho 4 PCA. The world went mad. Like the true crime community just fucking exploded, and everyone's parsing every word in a PCA, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. You know, you're picking that. Like that's what my job is, to pick that shit apart. Because when I'm going to a preliminary hearing, that's all I have. I don't have the discovery yet. So like when I'm going in a preliminary hearing and I'm trying to get the case kicked, and I'm saying that they don't have the probable cause, or that, you know, what they got, they did it in an unsavory fashion, or it was unconstitutional, whatever the case may be. All I have is that piece of paper. I don't have the actual evidence yet because I don't get discovery until after he's been arraigned, which happens, at least in Illinois, after they've either indicted him or they've bound him over on trial through information, through a preliminary hearing. So like that's when we get discovery, when he's finally formally charged. Then they give it to us.